Sunny Easter morning. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this 16 Easter Rising at the grave of Joe Stynes, a soldier of the 1916 Irish Republic who's buried here. And first I'd like to call on his family to lay a wreath at the grave. Thank you all for being here too. Great. Thank you. Michael Costello will come up to read the proclamation of the Irish Republic as Gaeilge.
First of all, is Seamus O'Doody here, because he does an awful lot better job than I do of this. Realta Shalderlich Foblach na Heron, the Wincher na Heron, Ara agus of Ra na Heron, and Anim J agus an Anim na Gluna Hui Ruin, agus on the Worshid and Shandajachus Marnoshum, Tal Eire Chinya, a Garim a Klanya Fina, Pratach, agus a Bull of Willa Son of Saoirse. Taresti agar agus elunch a chuir chuid fear tríbheán a hagrachta bravlóide rúnda brárachas poblach na héireann agus tríbheán a hagrachóchtaí míleite oscailte óglainn na héireann agus anam cara na héireann taresti féinsmacht a éibriú go fáineach taresti fannach go seaswach le teachtan lá chirt Berin she in ish na a wall, agus le cawr on a clán atá nimmerke wahi America, agus o cú wúlathe calma san Europe, ach teag brasing geadát an neart hain, willin she as lándochas ag gomani she an bua. Jeremy gur ceart canasach Dochlóchi, a cartwinch na Héireann, chun shellam na Héireann, agus chundála na Héireann, a stúru gon srían. Níor chealaí an fórlábhas a dimid cinne, agus rialtas achtránach fe a bhád an ceart sin, ná ní féidir a chealú go Joe ach a bháin si díolthú winche na Héireann, in ach lún jarrhí muinche na Héireann a gceart chun Saoirse agus Fleis na náisiún. Sé bhuaire le síchéad bliain an uais dhearbh vidar éfaí arm, ag seasadún ar an gceart bunúsach sin agus a dearbhú I ríist faoin arm os cóir an taobh. Fógrimid leis seo poblach na Héireann mar stát canasach neamhsplach. Agus cuirimid an anam féin agus animál gomrádaigh córach I ngeallan na Saoirse agus lena leas agus lena móra I measc na náisiún. Tá ceartaigh poblach na Héireann díolseacht iad agus mná na Héireann agus éilíonn si an díolseachtain. Ráithíonn an poblach Saoirse creide agus Saoirse sibhialta ceart córama agus teisina córama don eile hiranach agus fóg rian go hamláin agus an eile fórtaí na bhaintteach agus íchoil canúil céine le clán eile ó náisiún agus gan bhean aici na difriochta a cóta rialtas achtránach go cuaramach agus a dhéal míonlach ó mhóran sin am atá thart. Go maíonn ó náram bhain chuithúil amach le haigh bunú rialtas náisiúnta bhain a bheith imdíocht de bhainte uile na Héireann agus a thabhar le bhótaí a chuid fearr agus bán uile. Riamfa an rialtas sealadacht a bhain áitéir leis na gnóthaí síbhialta agus míleite na poblachta agus aontaí was den phobal. Cuirimid cúis phoblach na Héireann fa chamirci díomhór na hileachúchtanach. Agus impimid a bheannacht ar an áram agus cibhimid nach daran goi enene I service na kusha shin as onor wuri le mertocht le mi endonacht no le slad. En oersha ni kinune ni foler de nashuna heren sine mishnach agus a jamper agus tri hel a kleine iad hein a ibert son lesan fobel gudilfi on rain roosel is donje. Arne shinu Archan and Realtas Pally. Thomas O'Cleary, Thomas McDonagh, Eamon Kant, Sean McDermott, Pádraig McPhierce, Seamus O'Conneilla, agus Joseph Plunkett. Gurmagi.
Dominic Bruno's next to read the Easter Statement from the Irish Republican Movement in America.
To our friends, comrades, and supporters gathered worldwide to commemorate the 97th anniversary of the Great Easter Rising, we extend our greetings and solidarity. We thank all those returning from years past and welcome those who have joined us more recently. This year we mark the centennial anniversary of the 1913 lockout as part of our Countdown to 2016 program. 100 years ago, the world saw the workers of Dublin move to assert their rights in the face of a vicious owner lockout. The severity with which the workers were assaulted did much to convince the Irish people of the need for a sovereign republic of all Ireland that promised opportunity and hope for all. It also demonstrated that anyone challenging the status quo in Ireland would be crushed with violence if they had no defense. Consequently, when the Republic was proclaimed 3 years later in 1916, there were already military units waiting to pledge their allegiance to the fledgling nation. Through vicious repression and treachery, these courageous women, children, and men defended the Republic and the All-Ireland Dáil Éireann against their British occupiers and their Irish cohorts. Their struggle was not for some future ideal republic, but for the living 32-county Republic of 1916. Today, their descendants continue the same struggle in communities and prisons throughout Ireland. Once again, the British and Dublin establishments seek to deny the sovereignty proclaimed in 1916 and ratified by the will of all the Irish people in the All-Ireland Dáil, attempting to criminalize those fighting under its authority. Now, as in the past, they will fail in this endeavor. We continue to express our support for the Republican prisoners in McGabbery and elsewhere, who together with their families have sacrificed so much for our Republic. Neither they nor their righteous actions in defense of the Republic will be forgotten. We repeat our demand for the occupational authorities to abandon their policy of attempted criminalization of the legitimate Irish Republic and assert the prisoners' rights under the Geneva Conventions regarding the treatment of prisoners of war. We ask each person to support COWAR and the annual International Day of Action for Republican Prisoners until this is achieved. This, together with the return of internment as faced by Martin Corey, Marion Price, and others, reveals an increasing return to the use of political policing. Indeed, now the political harassment has spread from inside the prisons to the supporters of the prisoners as well. The authorities will stop at nothing to maintain their corrupt regimes. We will expose, condemn, and with the help of freedom-loving people of the world, bring an end to this inhumanity and repression. Let there be no mistake. Internment without trial is a crime against anyone who values freedom, regardless of your ideology or location, and must be eradicated. The Dublin and British administrations are forced to such shameful tactics to prop up a failed peace process, which has brought much process and very little peace. They must support these doomed-to-fail schemes to guarantee their own privilege and existence. The Éireann federal program would provide a transparent and local framework that would eliminate such abuses of power and include a draft charter of rights that provides protection for freedom of belief. The dramatic increase in economic and political refugees from Ireland, sanitized in polite discourse as emigrants, as well as sectarian violence in Ireland itself, are sure signs that change has long been needed in Éireann. Sectarianism is generated and manipulated to keep the people divided. Similarly, unemployment and political repression are used to vent disaffected portions of society through emigration. We will continue to seek ways to help Irish economic and political refugees here in America as we continue to struggle to eliminate their reasons for leaving. As the nation so shudders, the current administrations profit through the importation of cheap foreign labor, corruption, and the sale of Ireland's natural resources to the highest bidder. The Irish people are commended for the stands they have taken, from the continuing struggle at Rossport to the Galway-based salmon fishers, and we continue to offer our support and solidarity. Jim Larkin said, "The best thanks we could offer those who went before and raised the Irish working class from their knees was to press forward with determination and enthusiasm towards the ultimate goal of their efforts, a cooperative Commonwealth for Ireland. We too must press forward with determination and enthusiasm to defend the Republic and implement Air Nua, achieving the dreams and aspirations of those who came before us. On Poblach Dabu, long live the All-Ireland Republic."
Thanks, Dominic. Next, I'd like to call on Pat Williams to read the Easter Statement from the Irish Republican movement in Ireland.
Easter Statement from the leadership of the Republican movement. On the occasion of the 97th anniversary of the 1916 Rising, the leadership of the Republican movement sends greetings to all assembled at Irish patriot graves and at monuments to the memory of our Republican dead. Once again, we issue a reminder that the centenary of that momentous Easter week is barely 3 years away, and we ask, who has the credentials to honor that 100th commemoration? Surely not those who accept the British and Unionist veto on the future of Ireland, or those who collaborate with English rule in our country. Their political surrender to imperialism is a contradiction of the 1916 proclamation and all that it stands for. Preparations for 2016 need to continue. We accept the statement of the Irish Republican Army that they abhor drug dealing and gangsterism, and that they have nothing to do with either. We acknowledge their declaration that they remain intact, and that their objective is to drive out the British occupational forces from the occupied 6 counties, just as they were evicted from the 26 counties by an earlier generation. In short, that aim is to complete the work of 1916. We respond to and reject the untrue claims made without contradiction on RTE radio recently that there are no British soldiers in the North. The insinuation is that English rule no longer obtains there. The reality is otherwise, and it is accepted widely that the political biased policing of the so-called PSNI is nothing but a return to that of the pre-1968 RUC, simply dressed up with new badges on their headgear. We note that the title of the Republican Sinn Féin has been misappropriated from it by a tiny splinter group in Limerick. Politicians and a hostile media have given credence to this action by highlighting its misdeeds and then placing the blame on the true Republican movement. We take advantage of this occasion to clear the air and assert once more Republican Sinn Féin's integrity and good name. Similarly, even the name of our country, Ireland, is denied in official circles. The 26 counties are called Ireland, while the 6 counties Northern Ireland, and our native land dubbed the Island, thus denying the historic entity which has called forth such service and sacrifice down through the years. In this way, they seek to deny the very concept of Ireland as our people have known it. They would never have us consent to partition and British rule for all time. We say never. Next year, 2014, we will see local elections again in the 26 county state. Republicans need to make ready and take advantage of openings in this regard. With the abolition of town councils as part of the present administration's policy of centralization, elections to Adaras na Gadachta were likewise terminated. Gaeltacht self-government was an integral part of our Air Nua proposals of 1971, making for much stronger local bodies in Irish-speaking areas. Republican Sinn Féin welcomed the limited devolution provided, however, and contested all elections to the Adaras. We see its abolition as a step backwards and deplore its passing. Meanwhile, the new imperialism, through a combination of the euro currency and lack of regulation of banks, has brought a seemingly endless austerity to the ordinary Irish people. They get richer and the poor poorer. This process must be resisted at all costs. All the while, Republican prisoners in Maghaberry and County Antrim endure as they seek an end to controlled movement and to strip searching. Following 4 years of protest, in August 2010, an agreement was reached. It was reneged on by the prison administration and resulted in another 15 months of a no-wash protest. Nonetheless, pressure has continued on the prisoners, and the official prisoner ombudsman has admitted publicly that the Republican wing of Maghaberry is the only drug-free wing in the prison. Internment has been reintroduced as Martin Corey of Lurgan, who had already served 19 years and was released, was brought back and has been held again for 3 years without trial. He is still in Maghaberry jail. At this Easter commemoration ceremonies, we are mindful of the prisoner's struggle, and we salute their sacrifice. And public boo, long live the All-Ireland Republic.
Thank you, Pat. Okay. Liam Murphy, the president of Cumann Saoirse Náisiúnta, is now going to read Pádraig Pearse's oration from the grave of O'Donovan Rossa.
Jeremiah O'Donovan Rossa, an early member of the Irish Republican Brotherhood, the IRB, the Fenians. He died in New York on the 29th of June, 1915, at the age of 84. John Devoy cabled Tom Clark in Dublin to ask what should be done. Clark replied, "Send his body home at once." Clark and Tomás McDonagh began planning a huge funeral demonstration in support of Irish independence. Tom Clark chose Pádraig Pearse to give the oration. On arrival in Dublin, Ross's remains were taken to the Pro-Cathedral and lay before the high altar for one night under an honour guard of Irish volunteers. After that, they were in the City Hall, again, with a volunteer honour guard. The Irish Volunteers had been founded in November of 1913, their centenary is a little later this year, to secure and maintain the rights and liberties common to the whole people of Ireland. Rossa lay in state in City Hall until the funeral. Thousands of volunteers followed the hearse to Glasnevin Cemetery. Hundreds of thousands of people lined the route from the centre of town out to Glasnevin. Following the internment on Law Lunacy, that is August 1st, 1915, Pearse, in the uniform of the Irish Volunteers, delivered his oration. It has seemed right, before we turn away from this place in which we have laid the mortal remains of O'Donovan Rossa, that one among us should, in the name of all, speak the praise of that valiant man, and endeavour to formulate the thought and the hope that are in us as we stand around his grave. And if there is anything that makes it fitting that I, rather than some other, rather than one of the grey-haired men who were young with him and shared his labour and his suffering, should speak here, it is perhaps that I may be taken as speaking on behalf of a new generation that has been rebaptized in the Fenian faith, that has accepted the responsibility of carrying out the Fenian program. I propose to you then that here, by the grave of this unrepentant Fenian, we renew our baptismal vows, that here, by the grave of this unconquered and unconquerable man, we ask of God, each one for himself, such unshakable purpose, such high and gallant courage, such unbreakable strength of soul as belonged to O'Donovan Rossa. Deliberately here we avow ourselves, as he avowed himself in the dock, Irishmen of one allegiance only. We of the Irish Volunteers, and you others who are associated with us in this today's task and duty, are bound together and must stand together henceforth in brotherly union for the achievement of the freedom of Ireland. And we know only one definition of freedom. It is Tone's definition, it is Mitchell's definition, it is Ross's definition. Let no man blaspheme the cause that the dead generations of Ireland served by giving it any other name and definition than their name and their definition. We stand at Ross's grave, not in sadness, but rather in exultation of spirit that it has been given to us to come thus so close, into such close communion with that brave and splendid Gael. Splendid and holy causes are served by men who are themselves splendid and holy. O'Donovan Rossa was splendid in the proud manhood of him, splendid in the heroic grace of him, splendid in the Gaelic strength and clarity and truth of him, and all that splendour and pride and strength was compatible with the humanity and simplicity of devotion to Ireland and to all that was olden and beautiful and Gaelic in Ireland. The holiness and simplicity of patriotism of a Michael O'Cleary or of an Owen O'Browning. The clear, true eyes of this man, almost alone in his day, visioned Ireland as we of today would surely have her. Not free merely, but Gaelic as well. Not Gaelic merely, but free as well. In a closer spiritual communion with him now than ever before, or perhaps ever again, in a spiritual communion with those of his day, living and dead, who suffered with him in English prisons, in communion of spirit too with our own dear comrades who suffer in English prisons today, and speaking on their behalf as well as our own, we pledge to Ireland our love, and we pledge to English rule in Ireland our hate. This is a place of peace, sacred to the dead, where men should speak with all charity and with all restraint. But I hold it a Christian thing, as O'Donovan Rossa held it, to hate evil, to hate untruth, to hate oppression, and hating them to strive to overthrow them. Our foes are strong and wise and wary, but strong and wise and wary though they are, they cannot undo the miracles of God, who ripens in the hearts of young men the seeds sown by the young men of a former generation. And the seeds sown by the young men of 65 and 67 are coming to their miraculous ripening today. Rulers and defenders of realms had need be wary if they would guard against such processes. Life springs from death, and from the graves of patriot men and women spring living nations. The defenders of this realm have worked well in secret and in the open. They think that they have pacified Ireland. They think that they have purchased half of us and intimidated the other half. They think that they have foreseen everything, that they have provided against everything. With the fools, the fools, the fools, they have left us our Fenian dead, and while Ireland holds these graves, Ireland unfree shall never be at peace.
Okay, to wrap up our program this morning here, I'm going to ask Kathleen, daughter of Joe Stynes, the consummate Fenian and defender of the 1916 Irish Republic, to read a piece written by our own late Brian Moore, The Fenian Faith.
The Fenian Faith. In 1915, in Glasnevin Cemetery, Dublin, at the funeral for the returned Fenian O'Donovan Rossa, Padraig Pearse commented that something should be said before they turned away from the grave of that gallant man. He went on to deliver his immortal tribute to the fallen. Fenian, the fools. Now, almost a century later, some very short words must be uttered. This Fenian memorial was dedicated in 1907 by the IRB Clan na Gael to the heroes who had died in the American Civil War and to those warriors who took part in the 67 Rising. As was done in their time with the Phoenix Park executions, the fall of Parnell, and the ultimate betrayal of the Fenian faith, I don't think they would be astounded today to realize that this cancer of revisionism once again stalks the land. Attempts to obliterate the memory and rewrite the history. Revisionism must be reviled, and the revisionists must be exposed for the running pack of Shoneen dogs they are. If we, the inheritors of the Fenian faith, have one thing to show, to achieve, it is to take back the dream, rekindle the flame, and revive the damaged cause of a united Ireland. To paraphrase the words of a Fenian ancestor of mine, Seamus Bonner, on the passing in America of another Irish hero, Bellew McManus, I cannot share this final phrase of the journey with you, but you have never left my mind and my heart. Resurgam, Brian Moore O'Balia, an unrepentant Fenian. I'd like to thank you all for coming and remembering my father at this day. He was a complete and total soldier, always, till the day he died, and he was the best of all. He was an Irishman till the end. And up the IRA, that's all I can say. Thank you.
Just a final word from Liam Murphy.
Brian Moore not only had a way with the pen as an artist, but he certainly had a way with words, and really cut to the quick. I'm delighted to hear his words again today. I would like to invite everybody here to join us at the Heritage. Now, when you get to the Heritage over on McLean Avenue, we're downstairs, right, Maggie? Yes. Okay. Look for Maggie. She's downstairs, right? And if you don't see Maggie, you're in the wrong place. But please join us there. The program continues over there. And for those of you who got a spare minute, on your way over there, we are less than a pistol shot from the grave of Thomas Kelly, who was the public enemy #1 in the British Empire in 1867, the Fenian chief at the time. And we usually just stop there and genuflect once and on our way up to the Heritage. So please join us at the Heritage, and we'll continue the program there.
Let's get a group picture.
Oh yeah. Everybody up here for a picture, please.
I ended with
Did you do the whole thing? I don't know if you do anything.
I just ended with Alex. You'll come up and talk about it.
Okay.
You're not getting out of Danny's.
Huh?
You're not getting out of Danny's.
No. I was really hoping. Okay, can we have picture, please? Joan. Picture. Everybody.
Right.
Seamus. So. Got to show you the news. You gotta get closer a bit, you know.
Crowd in this way. And remember, if you Thomas Kelly was the Fenian chief, the famous Colonel Kelly, with Captain Deasy, was rescued from a prison van in Manchester in September 1867. Two of them escaped to America. However, a number of men were arrested, and among those arrested, 5 were put on trial. One, it turns out, had nothing to do with anything, and the press put such pressure on it that they let him go. They were going to hang him anyway because he was Irish. Turns out he was a Royal Marine. But 3 men, Alan, Larkin, and O'Brien, none of whom were responsible for the accidental death of the police officer named Rice, who was killed. These men were hanged in Manchester, and they really inspired their courage in court and on the gallows. Inspired T.D. Sullivan to write the song "God Save Ireland." And "God Save Ireland" became sort of an unofficial national anthem for Ireland from that point up until 1916, when its place was taken by the Soldier Song. Thomas Kelly was a hero not only of the American Civil War, but of Ireland's struggle for independence. He came back to New York and died in 1908. He received what John DuBois said was the honors he should have received over a century later, right here, with the dedication of this new stone, right here, by a number of Irish men who themselves, most of them, had been involved in the cause one way or another. So here we are at the grave of the famous Thomas Kelly, and it's just less than a pistol shot from Joe Stynes.